pituitary is going to be the adenohypophysis. Think that the posterior gland, so here we go. Your posterior pituitary, it's connected to the hypothalamus by these neurons. So the hypothalamus produces oxytocin, ADH, or vasopressin, and travels down and it's stored within those terminal buds. Whenever it sends an impulse, then it's released from the posterior pituitary gland, but it doesn't produce them, it just stores them. The anterior is going to be your adenohypophysis, and this one is the flat PG hormones. So it communicates with the hypothalamus via this portal system, which is two capillary beds connected by a portal vein. So for that, the flat PG are going to be your hormones that are released from that area. Flat is going to be, so the follicle, FSH, LH, adrenocorticotropic, and then your thyroid stimulating hormone are going to be released from that area. Infundibulum is the little stalk that connects the two hypothalamus to the pituitary. Okay, for the pancreas. Okay, pancreas. All right, so the little islets are going to be the light regions on the pancreas. So here's one, here's another one, here's another one. What two hormones do they secrete?
Glucagon, insulin.
Insulin and glucagon. The acini is everything else, all of the dark regions that surround the little light islets. What is the endocrine region of the pancreas? The acini or the islets? The islets. That's the endocrine region. They secrete those hormones out into just the world. The acini is exocrine because it empties into the pancreatic duct. So those are going to be the exocrine part of that. Insulin is going to be in response to high blood sugar, glucagon in response to low blood sugar. And they do the opposite, right? They'll bring it back up or bring it back down. All right, the adrenal glands. So the two steroid-based kind of compartments are going to be the cortex, as well as the ones secreted by your ovaries or your testes. Those are all going to be steroid hormones. So your cortex, we have the G is going to be the outer region, fasciculata, middle region, and then R is reticularis. Within these regions, we have aldosterone and cortisol. This middle medulla region is going to be where you secrete your fight or flight hormones, which are epinephrine and norepinephrine. So that's your sympathetic. All right, moving down to the thyroid. All right, this is your hint that it's a thyroid gland. If you see circles with, sometimes it'll be full, sometimes it won't. It'll be your hint that it's a thyroid. If you see circles and you're looking at the denser regions, then it's going to be the parathyroid. So these follicular cells produce the hormone T3 and T4. I'm not going to ask you whether it's thyroxine, thyroid, I can't ever even say it. T3, T4, these are the thyroid hormones that are produced by these follicular cells. They're stored within the structures called the column. We need iodine to produce thyroid hormones. I guess that's about it. And then these are cuboidal. In the middle, between the follicles, you're going to have cells that will secrete that other hormone called calcitonin. So if it's not part of a follicle, like a colloid follicle, where you have your little cuboidal cells and that little circle, if it's in between, then you know that that's going to be calcitonin. Where is it? So here you can see the little follicles, you can see kind of a denser region, so this is going to be our parathyroid, and so this is going to secrete the parathyroid hormone to affect your blood calcium level. within here, we have that secondary oocyte. Here we have the little hair, right? You have the zona pellucida. And then surrounding that, on top of the hair, is gonna be the corona. That fluid-filled region is gonna be the antrum. Eventually it'll circle the entire secondary oocyte and kind of propel it out onto a little stalk. And it'll be kind of released out during ovulation. This last little layer right here is gonna be the granulosa cells. Is that what it's asking for? Yeah. Okay, so once we see if it's got a picture of it, maybe not, let's see. Trying to see like a side view of the ovary. Nope, it's not showing that. Okay. So the corpus luteum is a structure that results from once you ovulate. Does anybody remember what two hormones it releases?
Estrogen and progesterone.
Yeah, so estrogen and progesterone. And then this helps maintain, so this is that little scar that results from that grafting follicle releasing the secondary oocyte. So it still does a job, releases estrogen and progesterone, and then when it degenerates into that corpus albicans, then you have both of those hormone levels drop, and that leads to shedding of the endometrial layer during menstruation. Did I miss anything? Okay, testes. So this occurs in the seminiferous tubules. So if we're looking, let's look at the, I guess the histology. Okay, so if it's got a little tail and it's got a little pointy cap, that's gonna be your hint that it's the sperm. So Sertoli cells, I'm not gonna have you identify, but those are cells that are found within the lumen of the tube, the seminiferous tubule. They're supportive cells that help kind of keep meiosis going. But outside of the seminiferous tubule, it's gonna be the Leydig cells. So Leydig respond to LH. The ones inside that are helping meiosis, that are helping produce your gametes, these are gonna respond to FSH. All right, we talked about spermatogenesis. They produce testosterone. All right, female anatomy. We've got 2 ovaries. Here we go. 2 ovaries, 2 uterine tubes. We've got the fimbriae that kind of help usher the eggs in. Where they connect to the uterus, it's called the isthmus. The top of the uterus is called the fundus. And then when you're talking about the layers, the endometrial layer is the inside. We have the functional layer of the endometrium that's shed every month. The muscle layer is called the myometrium. Those are the only 2 you need to know. Cervix is at the tip, and then we have the vagina, and then 2 sets of labia. Minora is going to be more internal, smaller, majority external. Okay. Moving on to. Okay. We've got these little lobes that contain the seminiferous tubules where sperm are being produced. From there, these are going to be the rate, and then these are going to be the straight, I believe, straight tubules. So rate testes, straight tubules that lead to this structure here. Does anybody remember what that's called? Epididymis. We've got a head, a body, a tail. From there, we're going to travel up into the spermatic cord via the vas deferens, so curls over. It's going to meet 3 little glands. So the first one is the seminal vesicle. The second one is going to be the prostate gland. Third one is going to be that vulvourethral. We've got 2 types of tissue within the penis. One is spongy to maintain openness of the urethra. So that's the corpora spongiosum. Cavernosa is what fills with blood during an erection. Ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct is right here, right by the seminal vesicle. Alright, and I think that's everything on that guy. We talked about the sperm. Fetal circulation. Okay. Fetal circulation, think pulmonary. We'll come back to that. Think pulmonary circuit. If it's red, it's going to be a vein. If it's blue, it's going to be an artery. You have two arteries that make part of your umbilical cord. So you also aren't breathing within, the uterus. So you have the foramen ovale between the two atria. You have that duct between the arteries, so ductus arteriosus, and then the one that bypasses the liver is going to be the ductus venosus. When you're born, all of those close up. So arteries blue, veins are red. And then this is that inferior cave. For the breasts, okay. Alright, so the thin little areas are going to be the ducts. Where they expand out, it's going to be the sinuses. These are little lobes that contain alveoli, the nipple, areolas that color the entire portion. And that's it. They are apical